Hello, welcome to the Gallant Goblin. Normally plays Blood on the Clocktower. Today we're talking about Blood on the Clocktower. This week we're joined by Micah Draws.
Hello.
Writings.
Hello.
And then Janina.
Hello.
How are y'all doing tonight?
Delightful.
Pretty good.
Yeah, our little usual crew has gotten really busy the past couple of weeks. That's one reason we weren't able to stream last week. We've had people who are doing comedy here in town, who have rehearsals. We have people who are studying for exams, who've taken new jobs, and just everybody is a little bit overwhelmed lately. But we got a couple of our friends together, and I thought we could talk about the World Cup scripts that have been released over the past week. Nina, have you been involved in the World Cup process at all?
A little bit. So I'll be playing in some of the games here and there. Not sure exactly what days, but probably Tuesday next week, I think. We're looking at on the Noobs on the Goof Tower channel. So
nice. I'm hoping I'll get a chance to be in one of these games. I know I'm sometimes in Malachon and Resnor's games on Thursdays, but tomorrow night I've agreed to do a Severance finale party here at the house because we have the big screen with the big projector and screen. So you can't wait till Friday because it's gonna get spoiled for you. It's the finale, so we have to do it tomorrow. So I'm out for this week, but I'm gonna find a way to play some of these. How about you, Writings? I know you submitted a script for this.
I did. It didn't get taken, but
There were a lot of scripts.
My rule is like a storyteller, turning the storyteller into the mez. Basically, the storyteller selected a word, and if they heard it throughout, that person turned evil. So it was kind of then. So then it was like no player agency there really. It's like if the storyteller hears it, just as they travel. So then someone town can go, I turned evil. They're trying to maybe bait an evil person to give them info or convince them to be evil, or it's a now newly evil person going, I really need to find my team, guys. And just, I thought it could make a weird and awkward hero's journey. So
yeah, let's step back for 1 second. Talk about the World Script overall, the World Cup overall. This year's World Cup invites people to create scripts, but each script has to have a specific, I don't know the exact word, but it has to have a specific special rule that's a little bit kind of overarching meta rule for the game. That's a little bootlegger rule. So for example, we've got one of the winning scripts, one of the, was it final 10? How many are there in all? 10, 12?
Oh, I don't remember.
I have to pull it up. 16? I'm not even sure.
I'll pull it up.
I think it's 10.
10. This is Binary Supernovae by Hystrex, and their bootlegger rule is, notice that we'll read it backwards. +1 demon in brackets for setup, and then if a demon dies by execution, good wins. If a demon dies, not both. And then summoner only removes 1 demon. So this is a script that will either start with 2 demons, either the Puka, Imp, or Oho, or 1 demon and a summoner. And otherwise, it's your typical kind of script for Blood on the Clocktower. What's your first thought there, Writings? You had a big reaction to this one.
So my initial thought is 2 demons. Oh no! Oh no!
Oh ho! No, it's oh ho.
But to be fair, my gut reaction probably would be worse a couple months ago for this, because now that the wizard's in play, it's shattered a lot of my expectations about custom mechanics, I guess. Mm-hmm. So I'm a little bit more open to 2 demons than I would have been probably a few months ago. I'm not sure about other people there, but that's kind of where my brain's my initial is meh, but I'm trying to keep an open mind when thinking about that in relation to the wizard.
Yeah, I mean, my first thing I see, it seems somewhat balanced. You've got 2 demons, so two demons killing in the night. It's going to whittle downtown a little faster, but good only has to kill one of them in order to win. Mm-hmm. So it's balanced that way. What do you think, Nina?
I would be.
You can finish what you're saying, Writing.
I was just the first question that really pops to me though is the mastermind. Does the mastermind trigger for the first demon, and you still have the second, or does the mastermind trigger when both demons are dead? That would be my first storyteller question. I
think there is an FAQ for each of the scripts out there. I wasn't able to find it in the few minutes that we put this stream together. So if anybody has the link to the FAQ, please let me know, because I couldn't find it anywhere. But as far as I've been able to tell from watching other people play some of these World Cup scripts, is that aside from the extra rule, you do everything just as written. And so if I would think the demon, so any demon dies, that is works. What do you think, Nina?
I think it would have to be, because it specifically says if any one demon dies, good will win. So it would almost just have to extend it that one more day.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I do think it would make for some faster games, which could be fun.
Yeah, that's true. Like, this game is going to go by pretty quickly. What do you think, Micah?
Yeah, I was thinking pretty much that is you need a big group to really last more than, a couple nights, because there's 2 demons, and then, there's several, at least 1 or 2 that of the Tinker can just die, and then several people that can die because they, the gambler chose the wrong pair or something like that. So there could be a lot of death in the night. Yeah,
you also got Assassin.
Yeah.
That's true. You have a few people protecting folk. Well, you have the Innkeeper. Is there anybody else that's doing any a soldier?
Soldier protect himself. But
yeah.
I would be curious to see about this custom rule on BMR.
Ooh, interesting. The Magician is on here too.
Yeah, I thought of it too. Because we are increasing the evil player count by 1. This is not a demon replacing a minion. There are still the same number of minions that would normally be in a game. So you have an extra evil player on the team.
Well, I think the soldier is going to be really strong character in this one, because there's no drunk and there's no poisoner except the Zahn.
Is there any misinformation? Yeah, Sweetheart and Zahn are the only sources of misinformation. Puka, Innkeeper. Yeah, there's a few.
The soldier can't be Puka'd, right?
No.
So just stay from the demon. Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd have to have.
So the soldier, I think, is really going to be a powerful role for this.
It's Beardy.
Hey, Beardy.
Hey, Beardy joined in the chat.
Beardy has joining in hopefully in a second. Beardy has been doing a series of interviews with all the authors of these, and so Beardy's got the inside scoop. Hopefully, Beardy's there.
I'm here.
If you missed it, he was on Hardplane last week.
I was.
Watched that. Yeah. There was a beard off between you and Sam.
I gotta start growing, apparently.
You sure do.
Beardy, how you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. How you guys going?
Oh, we're fantastic. It's so good to see you. Almost see you.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, we appreciate you jumping in. We're just talking about some World Cup scripts.
Oh, some of them look so awesome. I've played in 4 World Cup games so far on streams, so yeah.
What? Tell us what your thoughts on this one are. We got Binary Supernova up here.
I haven't played this one yet, but I am very interested in the idea of 2 demons.
I'm surprised it hasn't really been explored much before, or at least to my knowledge.
Well, it's kind of broken normally, right? Because there's good team needs to track down 2 things to win, whereas being that only 1 needs to be killed now it kind of fixes that problem a little bit, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like a simple solution to what could be a complex problem.
It does. Especially as we're talking to Hystrex, the imp, they can't, because some demons can kill themselves to remove options for the good team, but a Puka and an imp can't do so. If Puka can't kill themselves, an imp has to spend 3 nights or however many minions you've got getting through killing yourself. So
that's true.
Yeah,
that is very true.
Very interesting.
Nice. Any thoughts on some of the interactions that might come on the script? We talked about the soldier being a little bit more powerful than usual. Any other cool interactions that y'all see here?
I mean, if the philosopher wants to be mean, I could see them pulling something kind of funny. They decide to be as Micah mentioned, the soldier is very powerful in the script. So the Philo could be like, I want to be the soldier now. And then that one soldier just dying in the middle of the night would be very confused.
I think Oracle's quite powerful as well, with the imperative for the demons to potentially try to kill themselves or each other. An Oho can choose to kill the Puka or the Imp as a choice to limit the options for the good team, and an Oracle being able to pick up on that. So...
Yeah. I mean, just knowing there's an extra evil player makes things like the seamstress, a little bit more interesting. The empath, the chef,
Yep.
Gonna get some spicy information.
Genja. Yeah.
All right, yeah. Well, let's take a look at the next script. Let's see if I can do it while we're in this little thing here. 2 World Cup scripts. Buyer's Remorse. This was actually one that I was really interested in. Maybe it's the D&D game master in me. First of all, two quick thanks to check. Dr. Crockfart. Yeah, I'm intentionally mispronouncing your name, but thank you for following. And also, Diaz4 wants to say that Beardy's interviews have all been really great.
Thank you.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to check them out yet. Where are they posted, Beardy?
They're on YouTube, so I've got all of them posted there, and I've got a playlist organized them all so they're easy to see all together.
Oh, nice. I'm gonna check it out. We'll put that in the link down below when we post this. Buyer's Remorse. Players have 7 gold. Each day an ability is auctioned. Highest unique bidder gains it until dawn, even if dead. Bids are not returned, bar evil ties and secret. So kind of the way this works is that we can, the game master, the storyteller can auction off an ability. It doesn't have to be one on the script. It can be anything. It can be a minion ability. It can be the townsfolk ability. And then the top unique bidder wins it. So if everybody bids 7, then nobody's going to get it. But if you have like 5 people bidding 7 and 1 person bidding 1, that person who bid 1 is going to get it. The ties cancel each other out. And so you have to be very strategic about how you bid. Evil players, when they put their money in, normally you put your money in, it's gone. But if you're an evil player, you put your money in and you tie with somebody else, you get your money back. So the evil players can stay in this auction a little bit longer.
I was trying to think of who I played this with, and now when you said that, I remember I played this on Kinky Clocktower with them. That was insane. It was a really, really weird. I was good, and somebody else was evil, and they were going to get my ability because it was already in play too. I was like, no, we're not. So no, because I was the engineer. I was like, we're not changing the demon.
Beardy, you were in this game, weren't you? Am I misremembering?
I was in the TPI game on Friday that did this. Yeah, Thursday, Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very interesting. They auctioned off an Alhad ability, which was insane. But a good player won it and used it to resurrect another good player, which was really interesting. Yeah, it was a really interesting game. It's interesting to note that it doesn't have to be, like you said, it doesn't have to be an odd script ability, but it also doesn't have to be a normal ability like you can auction off. Effectively an amnesiac, so you can say the ability is whatever this is for one night, but again you want to get it for one day and one night, so you don't want to make it necessarily too powerful, and you've got to be careful of who has money left. Because I was talking to Mist in an interview, at one point they auctioned off a goblin ability when the person with the highest and pretty much only money left, I said, was the dead confirmed Banshee. So they won it, and because the goblin doesn't specify dead by execution, just executed, good just won because they executed the Banshee again. So you've got to be careful of some of the interactions when you're thinking about what abilities at what point to auction off.
How does the storyteller run the auction in and of itself? Is it done throughout the night? Is it throughout the day you come to the storyteller and go, here's my money?
Sorry.
So the way they ran it, well, the way Ben ran it on TPI is at the very start of the day they would announce what they were auctioning off. This is the ability that's being for sale, and throughout the day they would accept bids through private chats, not text, have to be private chats, and then they went to the player in the night who won it to tell them they had it, and went to evil players to tell them if they got their money back or not as well. Whereas everyone else would just lose their money, of course. If it's gone, it's gone.
Sorry, I've been delivered a cat. This is our new baby Susu, who's not used to being held yet. But yeah, sorry, I missed half of what you said there, Beardy, because Grady was bringing me a cat. But like, there is some leeway in the way that the storyteller does the auction, no? Or is
there is a little bit of leeway, yes, but generally, auction has to happen during the day.
Yeah.
Because then the bidder gets the ability at night and the following day. So if it's a night ability, they get it that night. If it's a day ability, they get it the following day to use. And it's important to note that it's coming from the Djinn, not from the player. So even dead players can bid and get the ability to auction off, and they can still have that ability because it's not them that has the ability. It's the Djinn that's giving them that ability. So.
Yeah. I talked to Milk about this one a little bit, and I think Milk thought this one might be a little too fiddly. What are y'all's thoughts on it? Mike, we haven't heard from you much. What do you initially think about this one?
Initially, I think this is a lot.
I think
it's hard for me to kind of wrap my brain around like so many possible interactions. Like even if you're just auctioning off abilities that are on the script, there is so much that could go so many different ways. Like the psychopath.
Yeah.
And like some town getting psychopath, like buying that and then just like killing somebody or something. Like
I think
there's a lot.
There is a benefit too. I think the wizard in some ways can often make a game almost unsolvable by the good team. I remember playing in a wizard game once where we just really had no idea what was going on. You know, we got a hint, but like it makes it can be a little frustrating for the good team. At least with this one, you know which abilities are being introduced. You don't necessarily know who wins them or if they're won by anybody, but at least you know what's the possibility. What do you think, Nina?
Yeah, that specific, like, I agree. The wizard can make for some very interesting games based on who you're playing with and how it's going, and like, but this, like you said, it's my experience with it was the engineer. So I was able to make the demon, and so I think I ended up making a leech, so that we could just need to find the person who we needed to kill that was a good player. So, and then the engineer ended up getting won by the demon using 3 gold or whatever, because I used everything. I saved it to try to get it again. And Kinky Joe was also evil. He did the same thing. So we canceled each other out, and the person who had the highest unopposed was a 3. It was crazy. It was fun.
This is one that I really want to run in person, just because I've done enough board gaming and RPGs in my life where I have all these little fancy coins, you know, from like...
I think this seems a lot easier to run on the app. I would have reservations about running this in person.
Because in person, everybody actually has 7 gold. They have 7 gold pieces, and then they come up and they actually give you their gold. And you might have to keep a tally about who gave you what. But people, you can watch people like handing gold over, and just the like. I know it's fiddly, but like I love the idea of like people doing these nefarious little deals with the storyteller off in the corner.
Oh, that would be really fun.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun. Just like, but I think you could write the notes like here, like you're on your desk, write it down. In person, you have your giant grin. You're being more of a showman, I'd say. I would have reservation about having to deal with the coins and the bag of coins, making sure to all the accounting of this.
You might need a helper.
Yeah.
Have yourself a little helper.
An auctioneer.
Yeah, there you go. Oh man, some of our friends over at Comedy Sports Houston, the improv groups would make such great little auctioneers. Any other thoughts on this script before we move on to the next one?
I think there's a lot of interesting lying potential because you don't necessarily know who won the auction, and you know somebody could just claim they won Goblin when they're on the block.
Yeah.
Who's gonna oppose that?
Very true.
Or like Saint or whatever.
The psychopath would be interesting.
That next day.
I'm the psychopath goblin.
Our next one, I was just watching downstairs. Council of the Dead was run on the Sunday stream. At the start of night 4, the dead wake together for 2 minutes and then secretly vote on a living player. If there's no majority, the storyteller chooses, and the chosen player gets a boon. So, the dead players have a little bit more say in this one than your typical game. On night 4, you just gather them up in a room, and you let them talk amongst themselves for 2 minutes, and then they secretly vote on 1 player each, and the person who gets a majority, not a plurality, it has to be a majority, will win a boon of the storyteller's choosing. Anybody have
What
some?
does the boon offer the player?
It's sort of like a wizard's wish in some way. You know, you can kind of.
It's up to the storyteller to decide what the boon is. So on the Sunday stream, because they'd almost executed the demon and only won because of the only got off the block because of the Supernovae breaking madness that they imposed on themselves, they made the boon very small and just told the savants that it was a Vortox game, which it was, and that was kind of their their boon, but depending on the game state and who wins the boon, whether the evil players convince them to give it to an evil player, then it can be whatever the storyteller decides to help balance the game.
Another one that Avery and Ed were thinking about for that same game was to give the person who won the boon, who was the savant, giving them the huntsman ability, because there was a damsel in the game who was a potential win condition for evil. So that's another thing. So it kind of is dependent on who wins the boon and what the situation of the game is at that point. But what's interesting about this one is that it encourages, in some degree, the demon to try to get more of their minions into that voting pool. So if you have like a Vigor Mortis who are already trying to kill their minions, that's always a helpful thing to do. But in this case, some of the other demons might want to off their minions a little bit early. And so you have minions like the Baron, the Mez, and the Summoner who may not be necessary later on in the game. So getting them off the board a little early, not that big of a deal.
A bigger in this game too.
Yeah, bigger, and an imp who can star pass if necessary.
Obviously, an imp star passing on night 3 would probably be.
And I also think it helps maybe potentially keep some involvement for people who are deceased. I mean, you have some people kind of check out when they're some of the first deceased, especially if you're let's say it's a Vortox game like this one. You have those night 1 rolls, Librarian, Shiginja, things like that, and people are like, oh, food for the Vortox. Yeah. Well, this is a little bit more buy-in for those people to be on the chopping block day 1, day 2, when they know night 4, they're going to be part of a big decision.
Writings, you are a little quieter than everybody else. Chat's having a little trouble hearing you. I don't know if you can... I tried to increase your volume on mine, but it's already at 100%.
Sorry.
That was...
Sorry, go ahead, Beardy.
I was going to say, yeah, that was kind of the idea when they were putting the script together to give more involvement to those dead players. So, yeah, if you get killed early, you don't just check out. Yeah. You actually have something to think about and keep doing and be involved in. So...
And if the demon is out there trying to get some of their evil players onto that voting pool, into the Council of the Dead, you also got an Oracle out there who's watching that. So it's another thing to keep an eye on. Yeah, this is a fun one. Any other ideas, thoughts on this one?
I think the Vortox is an interesting demon for this because in general, this script having the Vortox means town is going to try and execute somebody every day, no matter what. But it kind of balances out the likelihood that the demon's going to try and get their minions killed, just because more good is probably going to be killed in a Vortox game.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. All right. Let's move on to our next one, if I can find the right button here.
I'm just going to say that the damsel is the best character on that script. So.
Yeah. As we saw in the Sunday stream game, if anybody watched it, damsel is very important.
These scripts have damsel on there and seem to be powerful on all these scripts, yeah.
Next script we have is I See Dead People by AScaryWizard. Characters die as normal, but the storyteller doesn't announce deaths. Dead players can nominate. Poisoned players don't wake up. This is one I haven't seen yet. Beardy, what are your thoughts on this one? Tell us about it.
There is this old demon that lives in infamy called Barrowfog, which is very similar to this. Which is very similar to this ability. This is my biggest regret, is that this is the one person I couldn't get a hold of to talk to for my interviews, so I've got 15 of 16. It's still a very interesting concept, especially with the poison players not waking up, so you can't tell if you're poisoned or dead or not. I have reservations. I've played in some Barrowfog games, and it's definitely a very different thing because you don't know when the game's going to end. You don't know how many people are actually dead or alive when you got things like Soldier and Professor on the script to muddy the waters a little bit. But it should be interesting. I'm definitely interested to see how it plays.
So does not the philosopher, does the professor, when they are brought back to life, is that announced? Or...
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's not a change.
town is responsible for moving their own motion, like their own little death circle in town when you play in person. So I would think not online. I don't think they're responsible at that point.
Yeah, you don't know who's dead or not.
Like, you don't even personally know if you were killed.
No.
How do they do votes in this one? Like,
Yeah.
are the votes visible, or is it like a organ grinder where they don't know how many votes have been happening?
I honestly don't know.
Okay.
I also would be curious because it says here, dead players can nominate. It doesn't say anything about differentiating ghost votes.
I think that there are expanded rules somewhere online in an FAQ. I think that they were limited by space on the little Djinn here. So I think there may be extra rules that we just aren't privy to.
The dead votes are used, it looks like. There is a collection which is linked in the playlist description of all 16 scripts on the BOTC scripts site that have comments and descriptions which go into a little bit more detail around each of these, because they're limited to 140 characters or something like that for the general. So
where is it, Beardy?
I feel like
I'll send you a link.
I do think if you have a custom rule like this on boot, like your rule should be within that amount of characters, and be on the script that people get, and that it's that is the only extra rule I need to look at is what's currently there.
Mm-hmm.
And like
That's
I
fair.
feel about jinxes. If your script has more jinxes than the script tool rules support, which I believe is 7 to 8, if it's more than that, that is too many jinxes on your script.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to look and see if there's anything on the I see dead people or bootlegger thing here, and I don't see anything. I think the one thing I should mention is that all these scripts are available here on the app if you do want to run through them, and a lot of them have extra functionality built into the app to support the scripts. So I don't know if this one has anything extra fancy in the app to help out, but you can play these.
I don't mind there being some how to run tips and stuff like that, because, I mean, even for base characters and stuff, Almanac exists for extra information and stuff, so you should be able to get the idea of what's happening, but if you need a little bit of extra clarification, having that available is helpful, I think.
The other thing I noticed, too, is that this is not just night deaths. These are executions. And so with things like the pacifist on the script, you don't know if the person executed died either.
Yeah.
Yep, you just go, this player is executed, good night.
Yeah.
You don't say, and survived, didn't die, or did die. You just, yep. It's very interesting, I think. I'm looking forward to see how it actually plays.
Yeah, I need
Kind
to
of
watch
reminds
it
me of the Quantum Clocktower.
You're right.
And it was really messed with my head trying to watch
You
that.
exist in two states at once, living and dead.
Schrodinger's empath.
Yep.
All right, let's keep on moving here. We got a lot of scripts to get through. Humblewood is one of my favorite 5e settings. It is a beautiful and lush world that is home to a complex society of animal folks. The new Humblewood Tales 5e supplement book features more than 200 pages of expanded lore with new adventures, creatures, magic items, and shops, a gazetteer of the great tree city of Alderheart, and so much more to enrich and inspire your Humblewood adventures. Gather your party for new tales from levels 3 through 8 as you encounter pirate mercenaries, face off against a slime king, and take on the god of shadow and trickery and an otherworldly nightmarish dreamscape. What tales will you tell? Check out Humblewood Tales today using our link in the corner or in the doohickey down below. Next we have Off to See the Wizard by Crispy Duck. If a wizard is in play, one good player knows, and each day while alive may privately guess the wizard wish and learn how accurate they are if a wish has been made. I think I saw somebody, it might have been on the official stream, have or might have been a Patters game, have an amnesiac ability that was a little bit similar to this, where the amnesiac, I think, was like learning one word in the wizard wish every day.
I did see that, yeah.
Yeah, what do y'all think? Beardy?
I like the idea of this giving like a widow ping out, and again, it can give extra incentive for some players to want to stay alive, like a chef or a noble who might geek themselves for cannibal normally on day one, because if they're given that wizard ping, they want to stay alive as long as possible to be able to guess, because they can only guess what the wizard wish is while they're alive.
Yeah.
So it gives them, and it also wants them to hide hide the wizard ping a little bit, because as an evil player, imagine if you know who's got the wizard ping, one, they're confirmed good, two, you want to try and stop them from getting too much information about the wizard wish, so keeping that quiet a little bit can be very helpful for the good team. So yeah, giving it to a you start knowing, or like a mutant perhaps can be interesting, or you might give it to a farmer and they might announce it to like bait the demon into killing them potentially.
That would be cool.
Or
Yeah.
you could
So there's a lot of options onto why you might want to who the storyteller would want to give that wizard ping to, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah, you could also do the otter side. You could give it to the politician.
Yep. Exactly.
I was gonna say it also goes toward my. I'm trying to fix up my stream because I realized I have one video on top of another over there. But it also goes to the problem I have with the wizard scripts, where that they can be a little bit unsolvable, not being able to figure out what that wizard wish is. So this helps the good team, at least in some ways, start to kind of narrow that down.
I played in a wizard game where I was the good slayer turned alchemist wizard evil by the wizard to get the extra person on team, and then my wish was the demon, when executed, has the ability of the Zombul, so they could still kill even if there was kills during the day. Yeah, that was a nutso game. They had a savant that was getting like obvious and good information, and they just didn't trust the savant.
No one trusts the savant.
No one trusts the savant.
Yeah,
I like that this script has the boom daddy.
he's your favorite.
Clockmaker on this script is pretty strong, especially if you can combine that with a high priestess. That could be really, that could be a strong KO.
I think this could also be interesting in that it might encourage the wizard to hold off on making a wish for a little while, so that the good team has a little bit less time to figure it out, and maybe you can get rid of that good player before you even. But I guess you don't have to. No, yeah, the wizard knows that a wizard's in play, so the person's chosen right in the beginning.
Yeah.
And this is one of the few scripts where I see Farmer and Ravenkeeper. Usually I see one or the other, or a Sage, like two don't kill me's on here is interesting. I think that might be to help promote the concept of staying alive for this bootlegger rule.
Yeah, there's giving lots of reasons for good players to not want to die during the day is useful, I think. To help hide, like you said. So the demon, if someone goes, I want to stay alive, they're like, oh, they just got the wizard pinged. Like, no, there could be a farm, there could be a raven. Like, there's lots of those reasons.
Very cool. Let's see what's next. We have one day more for your Les Mis fans out there. Signal failure. There is a 24-hour delay impacting all characters with abilities that know or learn information.
So, like, if I understand this, that means, like, the chef wouldn't get their info the first night, they'd get it the second.
Yep.
But it's based on the first night. You know, all the information is not like updated, from what I take it. You're getting information from the previous night, just the next night.
But
If you're still alive. If you die, you don't get that information.
That's
You still have to be alive to get information, except for like a sage, obviously, that if dies, has to actually be quiet for a night, because if they're poisoned, then they can get wrong information. So things are delayed, like the poisoning that night, you get fake information from the day before. So the poisoner can actually target things a bit better if they think they know who someone is. So they think they know who the fortune teller is who picked their demon last night. They can poison them tonight, so the fortune teller gets false information based on their last night picks. And yeah.
Is there anything about this that helps the good team, though?
There's a delay for the damsel, I would assume.
Yes.
Ninjas
So-
don't learn about the damsel till the night 2.
Until day 2. A widow ping only goes out on day 2, but there's still poison on day 1. It's very
The widow gets
Interesting.
grim on night 1.
yes.
Okay.
So, it's specifically only abilities that have know or learn in them that are delayed by 24 hours.
Okay, so like the artist would still get their info right away.
The artist can still get the information right away. I think Savant does as well. No, Savant says learn, so you don't. But a witch, a widow On your first night, look at the Grimoire and choose a player. That doesn't say no will learn. One good player knows a Widow's in play, so the Widow ping only goes out on night 2. Anything that says no will learn.
I think this rule strongly favors the evil team.
Yeah, that's what I feel like.
Because day 1 is basically a wash. Like, there is no real information to help town figure out the demon. Like, it's just vibes.
Oh, and Town Crier on here? Wow.
I'm
not
really vibing with this one particularly.
Is there something we're missing,
It'd be
though?
interesting to try, but I think there's a lot more likely for feel bads with this than I think some of the other scripts we've looked at so far.
I think it could force you to think of the game differently. So I'd be curious to try it.
I think
I'd be open to trying it, but I think it's gonna be rough.
Here's the thing,
Town
Writings.
loses a day.
Here's what I think. I think that they are trying to balance that out by having a lot of very powerful townsfolk. You've got High Priestess, you got Village Idiot, you got Fortune Teller, Dreamer, Town Crier, Savant, Philosopher. Like, there's a lot. You don't usually see all those in the script together. These are a lot of
powerful town.
Yeah, this is a town that knows things, less than does things. Like, pretty much all of these roles here learn information. They're not roles that protect or anything. I think they all gain information looking at them.
Yeah.
And so there's a plethora of information coming in. It's just delayed, and I think that's how you balance it out.
But then a lot of this
here's-
information can easily get muddled out. Like, so you wait a day to not get anything, but your Supernovae could lock someone, the witch kills outright, the poisoned info that you've waited 2 days for, he's not good at all anyways.
Puzzle Master, Poisoner's on. Yeah.
Yeah, I would have some concerns. I think if to run this, I think you need a particular group of players that are comfortable with that type of environment.
Yeah,
I think there are some players that would struggle to find fun with this.
Yeah, I can see that.
I think that's very fair.
Yeah. Well, let's see what's next. We have Show Me Wonders by Dinosauratan. Each night, **, all players secretly choose in advance to live or die if they were to be chosen by the Alhadikia. Alhadikia choices are not announced.
Ooh.
So
I played this one last night on the Aussie TPI stream.
Oh, no spoilers. Haven't seen it yet.
It was very interesting.
Okay.
Because we've just got the Shab and the Alhad, it can be difficult to figure out what's going on, especially when you got a soldier and an innkeeper as well. So there are reasons for people not to die at night. So it can be interesting to figure out what demons in play, what's happening with the professor as well, with resurrections, whether it's an Alhad res or a Shab res, professor picked you, all this kind of stuff. There's gambler and gossip for those extra deaths at night as well.
And then you have all the protection roles, innkeeper, soldier, mayor, kind of.
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing trying to figure out if it's an Alhad in play or not, and who picks die or live, how you can figure out what happens and stuff. But no spoilers for what happened last night. But it was very interesting, a lot of fun with this one.
Mayor Alhad, how does that work? Sorry.
It can just bounce like normal, I believe.
Okay.
But the rest might be something, because Alhad says
die.
Each secretly, if all live. But I think the mayor one can bounce. The way I remember this, I saw this in the game. The mayor can bounce and that person die, but the Alhad is looking at the mayor if the mayor died, and so the mayor. So you can have 4 deaths. I think is what happens if the mayor chooses die or whatever. Doesn't matter. It bounces. That person dies, and then I guess they can choose.
Interesting.
If they choose die, it can still bounce. No.
It can still bounce, yes.
Yeah. And so, you could end up with 4 deaths if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Wow.
I think it'd be the same rules as an assassin hitting the mayor. The mayor can still trigger off the assassin and kill an extra person, but the mayor is still dead via the assassin.
Yeah, in this case, it would be the mayor doesn't maybe die right away, but dies on the second check when the Alhad sees that all 3 are still alive.
Everyone lives. Yeah.
I have not even thought about the mayor with an assassin, because it's not a demon kill. It just says if you die at night, another player might die instead. Wow. Okay.
With the assassin's target the mayor, it can cause additional death.
Mm-hmm.
That's impressive. That's interesting.
Trees and I got in a big talk, like we were talking about that, and it was like, and we did some homework, and that was something we had learned. It was.
Yep.
I think it's fascinating, the things that people come up with and the interactions. Like, I never would have thought about that interaction until seeing it on the script.
Yeah, me either.
So many characters in this game.
All right, let's keep on moving. We got to get through a lot. Stowed Away by CaffeineBoost. Up to 2 recommended travelers might be in the bag, and the player count lowers accordingly. Travelers are not announced. Executions and exiles are equivalent. So, yeah, we're kind of making some travelers into regular players. Beardy, what are your thoughts?
I think it's very interesting having hidden travelers, because normally traveler abilities are quite strong, because everyone knows who they are. But this is why the recommended travelers have been carefully selected, because some won't work. Like a beggar wouldn't work very well and pretty easily out themselves as a traveler. Scapegoat would as well here, but again, that's up to storyteller choice when that happens. If someone's executed, the scapegoat dies instead, so the scapegoat can still hide and stuff like that. It's a very interesting mix of travelers that you've got there.
Yeah, so you got the Bone Collector.
Modified virgin.
It's
Like
kind
the
of,
deviant.
yeah, so yeah, you get the Bone Collector, Apprentice, Deviant, Scapegoat. The Apprentice is really just an extra townsfolk, so we could double up on some roles,
Or
which is
minion.
interesting. Oh, all right, our minion, sure.
Travelers can still be evil, so a scapegoat isn't just a modified virgin, because they could be evil. You don't know the alignment of the same as normal travelers. You don't know the alignment. They're not guaranteed to be good. So you will know they're the same team if a scapegoat dies for something, but you won't know whether that's good or evil, like a normal scapegoat.
So you would subtract a... Wait, you would subtract a minion to add in one of the evil travelers? Am I reading it right?
But you would put in, if you're racking a 12-player game, you'd rack it for 10, and then add 2 travelers in, and you can decide the alignments as you see fit.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
Ooh, that's what it means by the player count.
Yeah, so we talked about, when I was talking to Caffeine, about adding in what other travelers would be useful for this. And I think I'll talk about Harlot. I think Harlot would be very interesting because it would announce to the player you pick that a Harlot is in play, but it just tells you a Harlot doesn't tell you this player as the Harlot. So it announces that this player, there's a Harlot in the game, but you still don't know who it is, which could be very interesting as well. Yeah. But yeah, something like a beggar wouldn't work, potentially like a gunslinger. A gangster wouldn't work. Things that have to announce themselves in order to use their ability wouldn't necessarily work as one of these travelers. But he's done a good job of putting together these selected travelers for this.
Yeah, very fun. Any last comments on this one?
I just imagined a gnome popping out of nowhere.
Yeah, I was thinking about the gnome too.
Yeah, I was thinking about a gnome too.
The Ballad of Seat 7 by TrashWarlock. Seat 7 remains empty. Its choices are arbitrary. I can hear Beardy breathing deeply on this one already. Once per game, the storyteller may speak on its behalf. So what do we think?
I have not played this one, but this is my favourite sounding one that I really want to give it a go. It just sounds perfect for the amount of silliness that you can inject into this game. So
C7 still dealt a role.
C7 still dealt a role.
Character, yeah.
Whether it's good or evil, and once the storyteller can speak once. So it could be a nomination, it could be a defensive nomination, it could be in a private chat. But just once per game, it can speak.
Imagine it being the demon, and the minions learn that Seat 7 is their demon.
Oh no!
So the storyteller might choose to, in a private chat with the minions, share the bluffs. Might be their one use of that ability, and that's why Scarlet Woman's on the script too, I think. So if it's dealt to Seat 7, you can potentially have that out there, but also things like Washwoman and Dreamer and stuff. So good team could potentially get a hint at what C7 might be based on that kind of information, but no hard sort of confirmation rolls on here. No steward or grandmother or anything that could hard confirm seat 7, which is really interesting.
I think it's a good point to interject that in this game, the word arbitrary doesn't mean random. So the choices that are made here are made by the storyteller, not just like a roll of the dice and just pick something random. So
I was thinking, though, it might be amusing to do it as a random thing. Just see what happens.
You could. I mean, this is a way for the storyteller to have a little bit more control over a game to keep it balanced, to keep it going. The storyteller gets to be a player.
Yep. They said, obviously, TrashWarlock said that they've had this going for months now. Like, they might get 6 for a game, and so they were like, "Oh, we'll just add a random seat and see what happens."
Get done that tonight.
And then it's kept going and going and going and refining it and stuff. So this is the one that, to me, seems the most out there and the most interesting, silly one, which almost can be at, like, the script looks good, but some of these roles really depend on the script. Whereas some of, like, this one, you can almost add to any script. Like, you imagine a game of TB with a seat 7 in it, which would probably work just as well as any other script. So that, I think, is really interesting as well. Which of these rules can be ported across or are very script dependent. So
I was going to say, it does solve that problem when you have 6 players and you really want to play a full game. There's your extra tool. I love it. All right, let's keep going.
Just play Teensy. Teensies are great.
Teensies are great. Sometimes you want that full game.
What if it's a damsel, though? That's interesting.
That's interesting.
Damsel's, like, on the majority of these scripts so far.
I love damsel.
Damsel's on 7 of the 16, I think.
This is the one I'm watching downstairs right now, which was the second game on the Sunday stream. The Djinn's Bargain by PhillyCheeeeez. Nominators may choose to die after making a nomination. If they do, their nominee's ability works twice until dusk tomorrow. So this is a script that, if you look at the townsfolk there, you got like half characters who are usually pretty willing to die early on. You got a lot of the top 4s in there. You got all the top 4s in there. Then you got things like the fishermen who can get their advice early and chuck themselves onto somebody else's pyre to get them an extra ability. You got a lot of people who might want to act more than once. You got the balloonist, the preacher, the fortune teller, the dreamer, the innkeeper, the exorcist. The fishermen might choose to hold on to their thing, get somebody thrown onto them so they can get 2 pieces of advice. If you can tie, and also the person who is chosen, who gets the extra ability, might be a tempting kill by the demon, and so the demon might say, "Oh, this person got sacrificed too. If I can kill them, then that's great." But maybe it was the Raven Keeper, and if you can kill the Raven Keeper, they get to choose 2 people. So you got that going on too.
The
Poe. You can also charge up your demons too by doing
so
demons get killed twice, or I would assume one could be for the Poe. One action, I'll charge. Second action, kill 3, please.
Yep.
Well, you could conceivably get 6 kills in a night with a single Poe doubling. If the Poe has charged one night, then they get doubled. They can kill 3, then choose to charge, and then kill 3 again the next night, or kill 4 in one night if they've already pre-charged, and kill 3 and then
nasty.
1. But then it does give a good hint, like, oh, we've had so many kills. Who got doubled yesterday?
Yeah.
And let's start looking at that. I think it's got a good mix, not just with the townsfolk, as you said, but also Marionette, who might be convinced to double the Poe, and a spent assassin to double other evil players. So there's also those one-and-done minions that can use their ability and then sacrifice themselves, and an evil goon if you manage to turn a goon, who may also want to double up an evil team member and lock themselves in as evil much easier. So
it says that they have to choose to die, though, so I guess a Poe probably couldn't do that, because if they're dead, they lose.
No, it's the person who nominates the Poe.
The person who nominates.
So let's say the Marionette nominated their demon, and the Marionette could go, I'd like to peace out.
Yeah, so it has to happen in order. It has to be, I nominate you, I choose to die, and then the nomination does also carry through, which makes wits also very powerful and more thoughtful, because if you nominate and you die by a witch curse, you no longer have the ability to die for the doubling, so the witch has to think, who do they think might want to try and double another player tomorrow? I'll curse them so that they don't have that opportunity, and then that player who they nominated to double can't be doubled again, because you can't nominate the same player twice.
And you do have characters like the Preacher, the Innkeeper, and the Exorcist who do act before the demon kills. So, like I said, there's incentive there for the demon to kill these people who are throwing we got the bonus ability. And so that's one way for the evil to counter that.
The one time I played this, I was the fisherman, and I got the chef to nominate me and double me on the first day. And then I immediately used my ability to get double fish advice, and then passed my doubling on to the Exorcist. Which was a pretty powerful combination, I think.
Yeah.
So
It makes for a fast game, but it makes for a fun game, I think. What's that, right?
Yeah.
If I'm just reading this right, I'm just curious if I'm getting this correct, how this interaction would work. If the barber would activate twice, let's say someone nominates and gives it to the barber, not knowing they're the barber, or maybe they do if they're evil. We killed the barber, the demon gets to do 2 barber swaps.
correct.
Yeah.
Wow, that's vicious.
And
It's
it's
fun.
doubling what you would do it. So if you've already a chef or an investigator, you don't get a second lot of information because you've already done.
Yeah.
So
This first night characters, you can't really do much for them. And if you do die, you don't get information either.
But I feel
that is also correct.
The first nighters have a little bit more agency in this with this. Custom.
They have a resource to use, their own lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're like, instead of like, I'm just gonna be potentially killed early because people want to confirm my whatevers, or they can have a little bit more agency of like, I'll still die in the game, but I'm choosing to do something with it.
Yep.
And I think
I
secretly for me, at least low key, the best abilities in this game, the best things are the ones that encourage people to talk to each other. And so this encourages those top 4 and people like the fishermen to go out and like find somebody that they're going to partner up with for this, that they want to throw themselves onto. And I think that just makes the game better too.
Yeah.
And it's not an execution, so there could be several deaths. That's crazy.
There could be several, but you got to be careful where to get it. It does also turn off on Final 3.
Final 3, yeah.
So if there's a minion and a demon alive, a minion can't nominate and then choose to kill themselves to just win the game.
Yeah.
Just like a witch, it turns
That
off
works,
on
yeah.
Final 3, which is good. A good note. So
And then the witch being on this one's just fun because you gotta be a little careful.
Wouldn't it still be a game loss for good on Final 4 in that world? Same setting, Beardy? The minion says to demon, gives them the double action on Final 4. That goes to 3.
You still have to nominate the demon.
you still have to nominate the demon, so good will have a chance to vote for the demon still in that instance.
And when they kill, they know it's Final 3 all of a
So-
sudden.
Like, if they do it on 4, then you know it's Final 3. If they do it on 5, heading into the good team might have sussed that out and be able to put the votes on the demon. So there's a bit of risk reward. I'm going to nominate my demon and double them, hoping that the demon doesn't get enough votes. And it also does make you be more careful of your nominations, because if you just late in the game, I'm nominating this player and killing myself, like, why have you done this? What information do you have on them that makes that necessarily a good thing this late in the game and stuff like that?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, just in Gallant Goblin streams, we've seen enough times where the demon just gets randomly killed, executed, no real reason.
Poor
Not
Micah.
speaking from experience, but the demon just gets randomly executed on day one.
Hey, it's happened to Beardy and me together as well.
it happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
It happens. Sometimes things just happen. Information just comes together, or it's just a random nom and you just can't lift it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
you've had 4 or 5 noms and there's suddenly, just do this one. It's like, well, we should kill someone. It's like, God damn it.
The other thing too, I was going to say.
We go for a private chat and everyone else hung out in town.
Yeah.
Oh.
today.
The other thing to mention about this one, I think it makes the demon bluffs that much more important. You know, which bluffs the demon takes and which ones the minions take.
That's
Because
what
For sure.
Snitch is on here.
yeah. All right, let's keep on moving. I do like this one. I want to try this one. That was Djinn's Bargain. Next, we have the Phantom Directives, which I haven't read yet either. By Schnauzer, dead players, not demons, keep their abilities. Each townsfolk loses their ability at the start of night 1 and then regains it on death.
Interesting.
Oh, this is cool.
It again flips everything on its head. So, top 4: a steward, a knight, a noble, may want to stay alive, especially a knight. Like if a knight dies on Final 5 and can learn 2 players that aren't the demon, that can really narrow the alive players down to who the demon is. Whereas a dreamer wants to die early to get a bunch of demon information throughout the game. So it can...
Now, you still only have 1 dead vote in this, right?
Correct.
So that really changes. That's cool. I like that it really changes the game, especially with the organ grinder.
Yeah, it's a power trade.
No, yeah, you can pretty much guarantee dead people have abilities, but you won't know necessarily if they're voting using that dead vote. Oh, I like this one.
Yeah.
It very much changes the calculus for the demon, too, on who you want to kill. Because when you're killing people, you're kind of locking them in with their abilities. You're opening them up and locking them in, so you gotta be really careful.
You do. There's not much misinformation on here. You've got a Vigor Mortis. That's about it. Obviously, you've got a wizard which can do things.
As much...
Oh, God. Why is a wizard on this?
Which is...
Wizards can create as much misinformation as they need.
Yeah, but that's the reason why they added the Fibbin to add that little bit. Because if a dreamer dies on night 1, or on day 1, gets themselves executed, they have the rest of the game getting almost guaranteed sober and healthy information, barring potentially the Vigor Mortis. So adding the Fibbin adds that little bit of doubt that the information that is provided to people, it can only be once per game, but can add that little bit of doubt, which I think is necessary on a script like this, where once someone's dead, they keep the ability for the rest of the game.
Oh, yeah,
which is the opposite. So
Fibbin is a fable that says once per game, one good player might get incorrect information. Sorry, I just want to throw that out there. Micah?
Because then once you kill, like, the Dreamer or the High Priestess, you can't stop them from using their abilities then. Which is the whole point of killing, right?
Yeah.
As the demon is... That's... Wow, that really changes the game. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's fun.
I think it's important to note, too, that it's only townsfolk who get to keep their abilities. It's not the minions, not the outsiders. But you do have a Vigor on here who's encouraged to kill off their minions, so that's kind of interesting as well.
It does make the damsel much more dangerous because they have the ability the entire game, because all dead players keep their abilities. Not just townsfolk. It's only townsfolk that lose their abilities at the start. So a damsel has
you're right.
their ability for the entire game, making it that much more important for the evil team, the good team, to cover for a damsel. Another good reason for the Fibbin, because if everyone has sober true information and one person doesn't, the evil team might be able to quickly figure out that they're the damsel.
Yeah, so
I feel like it kind of puts a lot more power in the Saint too, because like, yeah, and you probably don't like, Saints, as often as not, just come out with it, and you may not want to in this because you don't want to die. Oh no, I guess you don't.
You're still...
No, you're an outsider, so you do have your abilities.
Yeah,
you don't want to get killed by execution, but you also don't want the demon to kill you because you're theoretically good. You might want to hold on to that vote.
Yeah.
Because you don't get anything once it's gone.
Interesting stuff. All right, let's keep on rolling unless somebody has something they want to add. I think our next one, we're getting close to the end. The River Styx by Rhea. The Ferryman's ability is amended to, each night, the demon may choose if all dead players regain their vote token. So, Beard, do you want to remind us what the Ferryman originally does?
So the Ferryman originally says that on the final day, all dead players get their vote token back. So it allowed players to spend their dead votes and then throughout the game and then get them back on the final 3 to get them more involved again if they've spent the votes early. This one removes that original Ferryman ability, and it's just that each night the demon can pick whether the players get their dead votes back or not. And again, with an imp and a Vigor Mortis on the script, reasons for evil people to be dead, it can be very interesting having, I think, the minions, even when you're dead, outing themselves as minions by voting and getting their dead votes back. But then also, if you think someone's a minion, they've used their dead vote. As a good player, you might use your dead vote, thinking you'll get yours back, because it's the demon doesn't choose who gets the dead vote back. It's all or nothing.
Yeah.
So, but then the minions might double bluff you, and one of them spends a dead vote when two don't in a larger game potentially, and a few good players do, and then their votes are out for the rest of the game because the demon never brings them back, for instance.
The lunatic here is interesting as well.
Mm-hmm.
So the lunatic is presented that choice, and I assume that the road demon would be made aware of that choice, because I think the demons learn the choices of the lunatic.
Correct.
Yeah,
and I do love seeing a recluse and a vigor together on a script, so the vigor can kill the recluse to poison and taint like neighbor, and the recluse reads as a minion. I love that interaction.
And
it's one of the very few yes but do recluse interactions when a vigor kills them.
Recluse low-key one of the best ones in the game.
Yeah, definitely. And it was kind of designed for more outed minion play, and that's another reason that Fearmonger and Scarlet Woman are on the script, as a reason for good town to still want to execute minions, because a lot of time you might see them and be like, oh, if they're just going to be able to vote every day anyway, you don't bother killing the minions. But when you've got a Scarlet Woman or a Fearmonger with that nomination power, and that's another reason that Rhea said they didn't put in a chef or a clockmaker, so that finding out who a minion is doesn't directly point you to a demon. So it does encourage that outed minion play a little bit more, which I think is really interesting.
What do you think, Nina?
Makes sense.
Yeah, this one seems like it would be an interesting one. I'm trying to wrap my brain around it.
Yeah, some of these, like, you can kind of instantly see how it can ripple through the gameplay. And this one, you can definitely see how it might influence people's voting patterns. People might be a little bit more liberal with using their dead votes, thinking that they might get them back. But, like, kind of the repercussions might be a little bit more subtle on this one and how things play out.
And it depends a lot, I think, on the actual player who is the demon. Like, not even the specific demon character, but the person playing them. Because some people are going to be a lot more free with using that. Some are going to be very conservative about it.
Yeah.
Some might not ever use it at all.
Yeah, exactly. Some people play very cautiously, and so they might not want to risk it.
I think it's interesting that there's a Baron on this script with both a lunatic and a damsel and a drunk. So that was kind of what I was just looking at before. I was thinking how that, because there's a lot of pretty good information rolls too. And if that damsel ever gets stuck with no good bluff.
The other thing you can do as a demon is just singularly kill off good players and then keep giving them their dead votes back to start framing the good players to make people distrust them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of interesting things here that point with the investigator and Tanqueray, point to minions, but the demon has a choice to frame them as well. So
excellent.
I'm curious why they picked a lunatic for this script.
It does give the lunatic another choice to make that can influence the demon's decision, for one thing.
I see that. I'm just wondering why particularly the lunatic over certain other outsiders.
I think there is some degree of obfuscating who's actually evil on this script with the lunatic and the magician to make it a little bit more interesting as a puzzle. And the Mezephiles, for that matter. So I think that's maybe a little bit of it. Let's keep on rolling, though. Next, we have the Warrens. We have 4 more to go. Hang in there, guys. The Warrens by Zets. If 5 or more players live, evil players who nominate other evil players, not travelers, immediately swap characters.
This is like Little Monster on, like, ramped up.
I'm going immediately to look at the outside, or the minions. That's fun.
You got Harpy, Serenovus, Assassin, and Widow.
It's very interesting, the choice of minions.
Legion.
Was very specific with this particular rule. This is my secret favorite, just because Zets is a fellow Australian. So we got one Australian there, which is good. But yeah, the choice of the minions were very interesting, particularly the assassin and the widow. Like a
That's
spent
what I was
assassin
thinking about.
can swap and then get another assassin kill. A spent
What I was
widow
wondering about.
can like poison a Shugenja on night 1 and then swap to then poison an ongoing roll for future nights.
Oh no.
And you also got Poppy Grower on there that gives the minions an opportunity to help find their other minion by nominating the person. Yeah, well, does it help?
Like it's evil players.
Oh,
it's not
evil
the
players, not
minions.
minions. Yeah,
so,
yeah.
So a demon who's potentially nominated and on the block, who hasn't nominated yet, can nominate a minion to pass, like do an instant sort of Bible swap. But again, that can kind of let the good team know that something's going on. So you could have a minion who's being framed, nominate a good player, and convince the rest of town that, oh, they've just swapped, we need to kill that player now next, and waste town's time a little bit with that obfuscation and stuff as well.
I'm curious about the
Interesting
amnesiac
choice.
in this. Sorry, right.
I was thinking just Legion's an interesting choice with that rule because Legion just switches with Legion.
Yeah, Legion is interesting when you've got Ogre in particular on the script that can potentially be evil as well, because it's evil players, not just evil characters. So an evil Ogre can potentially swap with Legion, but also the Legion's there to help hide things a little bit as well, especially with the Poppy Grower and stuff, to help obfuscate what's going on a little bit and why nominations are happening. It really also makes the evil team, if they're nominating dual swap, they really have to think about the nomination, because if it's just a throwaway nomination, the good team might pick up on that and think something sus is going on with the swap, so it makes the evil team try and think of why potentially they might want the player they're nominating to die, but not be convincing enough that they actually get executed, potentially, depending on what play they're trying to go with. So, yeah.
I'm curious to see the amnesiac and savant things that will happen with this group.
Yeah, that's definitely fun stuff. You also have the lunatic there. That's one way then for them to find out if they're really the lunatic very quickly.
Yeah.
Fun times. All right. Yeah, I like that one. I want to try that one. That's one I want to play. Next we have This Is Not My Beautiful House by JC. The amnesiac is considered an outsider character type. I like this one. So what that means is basically when you're designing amnesiac abilities, you want to make sure that it's something helpful for town. This opens up a little bit of play space for the storyteller to make an amnesiac ability that may be ambiguously helpful to some degree. What do you think, Beardy?
Yeah, so the outsider amnesiac is an outsider when as a token as well. So it's one of the outsiders on this script, which is very interesting. And when I was talking to JC about it, he said, thinking about the abilities of the amnesiac, you need to put a wide range when you're playing it. So, because amnesiac could probably, like some outsiders might be like, I just want to get myself killed, my ability is going to be detrimental to town. But you don't know if it has a nomination trigger. Someone who nominates you could be poisoned for the rest of the game, potentially. It could be an on-death trigger, like a sweetheart or something. Because you don't know this, it can be really interesting to design those amnesiac abilities. And we've all thought of amnesiac abilities which seem hilarious, but aren't helpful at all. And this is the space where they can be used. I think really fun.
Because we have the bounty hunter turn amnesiac, which lets us get those like good evil ideas out there. But this opens up that play space in the middle, I think.
Absolutely.
Anything else that's affected by the amnesiac possibly being an outsider? What plays off the outsider in this script?
Balloonist.
Yeah.
Balloonist
Godfather.
can add the amnesiac.
And the Godfather. Yep.
Godfather's an interesting. I would almost be disappointed if it wasn't on here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add about this one? This is a little bit more straightforward, I think.
Yeah, but straightforward isn't bad.
Yeah,
Straightforward
no.
can be very... we've got a good mix, I think, in this competition of some rules which need a lot of clarification or a bit more complicated than others that really need their script, and some that, like, you can put this on almost any script, potentially, and have a ball with it, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. The Trained Killer by Ekin. Each night, the demon attacks the next living in-play character or characters in script order. Characters who survive might get re-attacked. And you'll notice it looks like that the order is a little bit changed in this one from what you would normally see. And the prescribed script order.
The script order is very precise on this one. We played this one on the Aussie TPI stream last night as well.
No spoilers!
So, no spoilers. It was very interesting. It makes bluffing as the evil team... no spoilers, but I was evil.
That's not a spoiler. It's you.
It's not a spoiler.
It's also you.
0 games. It's the last game I played. It's been 0 games. Yeah. But it's the bluffing that the evil team does. Like, you can't... Because you got to have reasons potentially why you don't die if you're bluffing earlier in the list. And there is reasons on the script. So, for instance, the Lycanthrope kills out of order because they just kill someone that they pick. The Mayor, being at the very top, can bounce the kill to anywhere in the list. A Spy potentially can register as another good character to die in the night instead of someone else who might be at the same point. Like, they could be thinking they're the Ravenkeeper, so they kill the Spy instead, so there's sus on the Ravenkeeper for not dying the next night when someone else further down the list dies.
The drunk can throw it off as well.
Mm-hmm.
You think
absolutely
you're the artist, but you're actually the drunk, so
that's what happened in the game last night.
I'm sorry, I didn't see it, but it was just
no. That's it's yeah. So the artist was the drunk, and immediately after the Lycanthrope died at night, they were like, okay, so we got to kill this player because I've died and I'm further down the list than their claim, and stuff like that. So it's very, very interesting.
What I like about it, too, is it solves a problem for me where the Yagababble and Little Monster puts a lot of onus on the storyteller to choose the kills every night. And it sometimes feels like the storyteller has a little bit more agency than they should in those games, and their choices affect the game a lot. So this takes that power out of your hands and makes those demons a little bit more predictable, or at least something for the game itself that they have more control than the storyteller. The question is... No, go ahead, Micah.
Sorry. Oh, I like that it potentially puts a timer on the demon too, because the king is right before the choir boy, and obviously, if you don't figure those two out as an evil team, that's probably the end of the game for you.
Yeah, that's why things like that's why the poison's on the script to help with that a little bit, but also the harpy can try and add a little bit of agency to who the evil team can frame and maybe get killed during the day out of order by Harpy Madness breaks or executions and things like that.
I guess one thing, though, that's that...
Executions will change the order as well, a little bit.
Yes, because it's next living character.
Although the one thing that could still give the storyteller unlimited ability to choose the kills is that you could just keep leaving that mayor alive and because they get reattacked, just keep bouncing things off the mayor.
But it also might get reattacked. So if something survives, so if a mayor bounces on the first night of kills, then the storyteller can choose to bounce that again, or just move to the next one and come back to it later in the game. Same with village idiots. If there are multiple village idiots, if one dies, they can move on. They don't have to kill all 3 village idiots if there's up to 3. They kill one village idiot, then that moves on to the next one. And they can go back and kill a village idiot again later if they want to.
It gives a little bit of uncertainty.
Thank you for sharing that, because that helps change. Because I was looking at this going like, well, your final 3 is pretty much set overall. So by adding that piece that you're discussing, it does allow for variation in your final 3.
I was thinking...
You go.
As the bluffs, I mean, your bluffs would make a big difference in this one.
Yep. And you can do a lot of interesting amnesiac abilities around. I won't spoil what the one last night was, but there was a very interesting one that was very helpful to the good team to figure out what was happening with the night kills and things like that.
It's also interesting because you know roughly when you are going to be targeted by the demon, so you have a lot more freedom to be open with your role because you don't have to worry as much about getting off before you can do anything useful.
Yeah, but again, you've only got the poisoner to worry about. So if you're too open, the poisoner can target
and you
specific people.
To trust what other people are saying. Somebody could be bluffing something that goes before you, but then it's you that's dead. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And the Yaga can kill multiple people in the night too. So you may think you have an extra night, but you don't. Nice. This sounds fun. I need to go. I need to finish the Sunday stream, and then I'll go to the Aussie stream.
This is one of those rules, as I was talking about before, that you can't really supplant to just any script. Being the script is in a specific and a good order, I think, from having played it last night. A very interesting order. It is so disorienting still seeing Stewart so far down and Mayor all the way at the top every time we look at the script.
So what I'm hearing you say is that Ekin put a lot more work into this than JC did.
I was going to say, I wanted to know, I feel like this is probably one of the most, like, thought over customs that we've discussed so far. Like, because you're not just talking about the rule itself, but you're also talking about the characters within the particular order they are placed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I feel like, especially with Beardy's point, is like you can't add this rule to just any script, and I think that adds an extra level of complexity to the script, but also highlights the theme of this competition, not just the rule itself, but you're also really analyzing the script order.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
Absolutely.
I can see why this particular script was selected. It's very focused and precise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Ekin's done a really good job with everyone who, as I said when I talked to them, everyone in the top 16 to get picked from, because there were over, I don't know how many, there were over 500 entries submitted. So to get top 16 is an incredible achievement, and everyone who was picked should, and I think does, feel very proud and humbled. And they definitely deserve it. So
I want to share a very quick little anecdote. That my little peek inside the choice of these scripts is that I was in Discord and I'm suddenly getting I don't want to throw one of the best, but I got a couple of little messages that was Mr. Ben Burns like providing a little feedback on some of these scripts and like talking about some of the crazy nonsense that are in some of them. And he's like, "Oh shit, this is the wrong chat." And it wasn't meant to be to me. It just happened to get me in the next order. But like there was apparently some crazy wild scripts out there that they had to pick through and choose from. So yeah, it was very interesting.
There were some very wild ones.
All right, got two more to go. No, one more to go. This is the last one. Witch Hunt. Oh, we saw this one. All minions are witches. Nominated demons cannot move tonight.
I like the idea of this script. I have played it 3 times, and I don't feel like I've got a good grasp on the script yet because we played those 3 games. This was on last week's TPI Thursday, Friday stream. I always say Friday stream because it's Friday morning for me, but it's Thursday night for pretty much everywhere else in the world. So, and yes, it was a day 2 damsel guest and day 1 damsel guest and a day 1 demon kill. So I feel like I haven't really got a grasp on the unique things that this script offers. So I really want to give this one another go before I can pass any judgment on this one. But I had fun in those games, so that was something at least.
That was a little bit of a shame how those games played out. I felt a little sorry for Nick B, not really getting his script, not getting necessarily the showcase.
Well, that's why each script gets showcased 3 or 4 times in the first round against different scripts. So there's more opportunities for this to get showcased.
What do y'all think of this one?
I think this would be a fun one to play with a large group, because if the more witches you have, the more likely people are going to die during nomination. Just
you're going to have the quietest town ever. They're like, no, what's up?
They are incentivized though to nominate so they can maybe freeze that little monster in place. Yeah. So there's that little bit of incentive there, but you got to have 3 witches to have a coven. What do you think, Nina?
I'm sitting here looking at this, and I'm actually curious, Beardy. You said that the damsel really affected this game for you twice. Do you think that has to do with people being a little bit more honest with their claims because of the witches?
I think so. So the first game it was day 2, and I think the damsel had told the wrong people. In game 2, the damsel told one of the neighbors who happened to be a witch, so they were, and then that witch was put on the block, so they guessed. And one of the funniest moments in game 3 was, I think the fortune teller might have had a guess on the little monster, and they got like 8 or 9 votes on them, and they're like, oh, "Okay, cool. So we're not lifting this," and they're like, "Okay," and they went to have a private chat. In the middle of nominations with them and the entire evil team just went to a private chat while the rest of the town sat there so they could try to figure out who the damsel was and do a damsel guess before we killed the demon.
Yeah.
That's a very
like-
liberal storyteller.
I mean, it was a funny thing because the demon was dying that day, and they're like, "Yeah, this is fine, hilarious." Again, something you might not normally do, but stream games are a bit different, showing off adventurous side of things. So,
Really, what's the reason to even go into a private chat? You could just sit there and tease the town, like, hi, trying to figure out
Control your
who's
mustache,
what.
like,
I know,
Yeah.
but it was still hilarious. They came out and got it wrong, and so we won that. The good team won that one. But it was so funny to see those three people disappear off into a private chat at the end of the day after they were on the blog.
If you're a fan of, if I'm remembering correctly, if you're a fan of our beloved Malachi, she has some amazing moments in this particular set of games that are well worth watching. From last Thursday, I think it was.
Yeah. Malachi was great. She was one of the damsels. She was the damsel twice.
I think so.
In one of the losses and the win from memory. I don't know. It's been almost a week, so it's hard to remember. But I think that was right. So. Yeah, it was very interesting. But going back to the Djinn rule a little bit, normally things like Fortune Teller and Alice here don't work that well with little monster scripts, because if you pin the demon, you can't pin the demon down. They can move around. They can be a bit frustrating for those roles. But they are here specifically because obviously that extra bit of the rule, not just all minions are witches, but that nominated demons cannot move. So if you think you've got a pin on who the demon is, you can't get the votes on them today, or you've got two candidates and you want to kill one over the other today, you can nominate the other one so that if they are holding the little monster, it's stuck there for that night and they can't move it around, which is a very interesting way to add more agency to those roles that may not necessarily work that well on a little monster script. Again, showcasing how good it's not just about the rule, but also the characters you put on the script to complement the rule that you've put together.
I can imagine an empath trying to get people to nominate both their neighbors. Like, I'll nominate the left one, you nominate the right one. People saying we should nominate the entire noble ping just to make sure.
And with and like you said earlier, it's not as much reason for people to go off and chat, especially with a snitch, even too, like the minions are getting their bluffs, and so I think that it makes it a lot harder for the witches to coordinate, and so you often see a lot of overlap with who they curse, and so they're maybe not getting as much mileage out of this as you might expect. On the games that Beardy was in, like almost every single time, at least two of the witches pick the same person to curse.
Oh wow.
Oh.
Yeah, awesome. I can see overlap happening.
All right, now I'm going to ask y'all, which of these tonight has been your favorite script? I just want to go through each one of you. You can hit the number 2 button on your screen to get a look at them again. I think you can hit it. I don't know if it's only a power ability I have or not.
I think it's only your power.
I mean, I wrote notes while we talked a little.
You probably remember the one you like the most. Who wants to give me that one to start with?
I'm curious.
I like the one where you get your power when you die, but not before.
The 24-hour hold one?
No, the one where your townsfolk don't get their abilities till they're dead.
The Phantom Detectives.
Yeah.
What is the name of that one?
The
Phantom Detective. Yeah, that's what you said. I don't remember saying that out loud. Did I say the name of that one? Yeah, the Phantom Detective. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, that name's going to be fun.
This is my favorite one. Make a whole new approach to the game and some really... I just can see a lot of interesting and fun ways that this would play out that other games wouldn't.
Bambi Blue Potatoes, very happy to see Beardy. We are too. Omega Bet also is talking about saying hi to Nina. So, the friend of yours.
Hi, Omega.
Writings, what's your favorite?
I'm a little torn, actually. I think if I had to pick a script, Council of the Dead, I think was my favorite. Mm-hmm. I liked the rule with the towns, like the whole allotment of characters chosen. I think it looks like it flows well together, and it gives players that might feel checked out reason to stay incentivized, as well as giving some players extra agency if they're just dead. Like, there's a reason that you might want to die those first couple nights where you might have a longer game. So I think I like that as a script. I do think, though, My favorite custom rule out of them, though, was the Ballad of C7.
Yeah.
I'm in agreement with writings there. I think I really like having played hundreds of games now. Anything that adds a little wrinkle and a bit of chaos. I think Ballad Seat 7 is that rule, and again, something that can be dumped into pretty much any script. Like this rule, I could see anyone and playing. Not to say that the script itself isn't good, which it does look good, but that rule I think looks interesting. But of course, I want to also highlight the Aussie entry, the Warrens, by Zets. Again, anything that gives more reason for nominations and people to be more engaged in the reason for nominations, because a lot of nominations can be just, oh, this is a meme nom, this is for science, whatever it might be. That can be analysed a bit more and a lot more social in why is this player actually nominating this player? Is their reason valid? Are they just doing it to try and swap, try to hide a swap, try to make people think there has been a swap when there hasn't, all that stuff. So upping that social game a little bit around the nomination phase, which is often, it's an important phase of the game, but often one that's more overlooked because people often make up their mind before nominations are actually made. So having more engagement and reasons for those nominations is interesting to me, I think.
Nice. Nina, what do you think?
I don't remember all the ones that you listed, and I did not take notes like writing did. I was not informed of this quiz at the end of this.
I thought this question might happen, but I tend to have a notepad by my computer. So I was like, I'm going to just note my favorites as we go.
I will say, I think that out of all of them, the ones that specifically change it enough that really change the way that the people play, like the deaths being swapped and the demon being able to move around, or not move around because of, nominations. I think it's fascinating in any way to take the rules of the game and just make it change it just a hair that really makes you think of the puzzle a little bit differently. Like, I don't want to die normally, but yeah, as a dreamer, but then I want to die as the dreamer so that I can have more use of my ability. I think that was really cool. So,
yeah, I love it.
What about you, Theo? What do you like?
Well, thank you for asking, Beardy.
Theo, your turn.
I am still enamored by Buyer's Remorse, the one where you get the 7 gold. Now, I know it's fiddly, and I know it's not for everybody, but I'm still in the mind of how fun it would be just to be able to hand out the little coins in an in-person game and have the little gold coins in your pocket, and you're kind of debating. And it also continues that theme that Writings was talking about of making the dead players still involved, because they can still bid and get powers, so they might die early, but they still have their coins and they want to decide how they want to meet them out, maybe get some fun abilities, and so I think that one's going to be a lot of fun, especially once people kind of realize the intricacies of the voting. Like, you don't necessarily want to vote 7. The person who votes 7, at least in the games I've watched, don't usually win it because more than one person will bid 7. So finding somewhere in the middle there can be really useful, and then there's also the idea of a lot of people come up to the storyteller and just fake bluff. In one of the games that I watched, I don't know if Beardy was in this one, I forget. I think you were. There was one day where like 5 people went up to the story master and storyteller, and they all pretended to bid, but nobody actually bid. And they had a whole day where there was an ability that nobody bid on, but a lot of people bluffed on. So I don't know. That one just struck me as being a little fun extra thing to add on top of an existing game, just to be a little bit of fun. But I want to play Seat 7.
If I played this one, I would just be like, every day I'm bidding 1 coin.
Yeah, I think that's a viable strategy. It's the price is right. I bid $1. Drew.
Yeah, when I played it, I saved my money for the first couple of days, and then when there was the Owlhead came up, I bid 4, thinking people might bid more and tie, so I don't want to bid all my money, keep a little in reserve, but bid a medium amount that hopefully won't tie. I think someone end up bidding more and getting it. But
Malachon,
yeah. It's definitely that, thinking about what level and when and how much you want to bid on what abilities you want to bid for. Especially as a good player. As an evil player, it's even more different because you might want to bid 7 to stop a good player getting, because you get your money back and they won't, for instance. But if it doesn't work and you get the ability, is it worth it for you? And coordinating with your evil team how much they might want to bid, each player bid, to have a more chance of an evil player getting it if it's a super powerful ability as well. So adding an extra little wrinkle. I think they're all very good though.
You can coordinate also with a good player. So like Beardy, me and you thinking like this power, we can't let the demon get it. One of us will build 7, one of us will build 6. So if an evil player comes and bids 7, we can at least cancel that out and you get the power. You know, like you kind of coordinate with your good team too.
That's absolutely right.
Nice.
I would like to say there's no script that I would immediately go, I don't want to play this. Like,
Yeah.
I think all of them are interesting enough that I would be open to experimenting, trying them, getting a better informed opinion about some of them. Because I think maybe I have reservations on a couple, but if I were to have an experience playing it, that might change my opinion, or I would learn something new about the script than just seeing it in the format we're seeing it and discussing it. However, I think there's also a piece to just comparatively reading it, but also experiencing these rules.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I think obviously, as I said, it's a testament to all the people who wrote these scripts, but also to the judges who picked them, because obviously with over 500, narrowing it down must have been really difficult.
Oh yeah.
So again, I want to say that everyone who hit the top 16 should be extremely proud that their rules and scripts were chosen, and even if they get knocked out in the first round, they still hit the top 16, which is an incredible feat out of over 500 submitted.
And if you want to
I
try
know
out,
some of them are great people.
if you want to try out any of these scripts, they are all here in the app. You can choose them, and all the special rules that you need to play them are in here as well. So if you have to choose multiple tokens or have extra reminder tokens, they're all included in here, ready to go. How long does the World Cup go on for, Beardy? Do you know?
I think it's mid-April, I think.
About a month.
I'm not entirely sure. There's a bunch of voting, and then I'm not sure where it goes after that. Whether it's just a winner or if they go down to like a top 2. I'm not sure what the next steps are, but yes. And it's really good that they are spreading it out. So there's obviously all the different TPI streams, the Aussie stream, the Sunday stream, the Thursday, Friday stream.
Yeah.
But also reaching out to like Chris Grayson, who was on the Goof Tale. You've got the Grimoire and Grim Scenarios. So you get to see how different storytellers and different players approach each script to get a good view of how they work in all sorts of different scenarios, so to get a good idea of which ones you think work and which ones don't, and voting for, etc.
Well, different communities and different players too. There's so many different play styles of this game, so many people that just so I think it'll be good.
And we got the Gallant Goblin. We'll try some out too, and we'll have some fun here. So we are a little Discord community, and we'll talk about which ones we want to play. We also have writing script, Hunter's Moon, which was a one that you entered and got top 8 in one of the contests.
Nocturne Gaming's script competition.
Yeah, focused on the Bounty Hunter, which we played 2 weeks ago, I guess, and it ended a little early, so we need to give that one a try. Was that yours, Micah, that you ran into trouble? I forget.
No, I think that was
Victory Bell.
Victory Bell, that's right.
They got kind of pinned in a corner quick.
Yeah, it happens.
And then we played a TV. That same thing happened to the demon. That day one, they were in a tough spot, and boop. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter what script; it could happen to anybody.
And it was a very experienced player, and it was a relatively novice player who both ran into the same issue.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just happens. And we also have our own Eric Wright here wrote a script that we're going to play as well that also I think has the Bounty Hunter, or the Mez. Let's focus on the Mez.
No, they did a Mez script.
Yeah, and so we'll do that. But yeah, so tune in here. We're going to try to gather our people back, lure them back into the Grim here, and we'll have some more fun games. Beardy, anything else you're up to? You got all the interviews on your channel. You got your shorts.
Just all my shorts and interviews. Yeah, it was really interesting reaching out and talking to all these players, and I chatted to each one for like 10 or 15 minutes and put the best bits into about 60 seconds for each person. You should check them out. They're really interesting. Hearing about their inspiration behind the rule and any interesting interactions that they thought really highlighted the rule in their script. So I love how this World Cup has kind of revitalized the Clocktower community a little bit, especially with the monthly releases stopping. So I think it's been really good to that they've done this, and with the carousel coming up, and another secret project I am involved with. Everyone should check out the TPI Mega Stream on April.
Yes.
There is a new project dropping that I've created the video for, which will be very interesting for many members of the community, I think. So keep an eye on that.
There'll be a good interview on Hard Claim the day after.
We can
Nice.
talk about this after we go off stream here.
The creator of that.
Also, another secret project that Beardy's involved in. I won't give too many details, but if you were ever wanting to play a Clocktower, or not a Clocktower game, but something else even more fun with Beardy and a lot of the other members of the TPI friends and family that you know and love, stay tuned here, especially as we make some announcements in the coming weeks about ways you can play some fun games with Beardy and other friends. Nina, how about you? Things you want to plug?
I mean, Beardy was on Hard Claim last week. We've got another really good one coming up here soon. The same weekend
Theo
that Beardy was talking about. Yes.
Theo a few weeks ago was on Hard Claim. Yep.
Yeah, and we'll have writings coming up soon. There's lots of great people
Nice.
that we have coming up. So
Yeah, go tune into that. We'll have the link down below.
It's
Micah,
definitely worth checking out Hard Claim. It's really good.
Micah, you want to plug Fluffy Ferrets?
Yeah,
The biggest thing of all of us.
they're all asleep somewhere. But yeah, Fuffy Ferrets, Fuffy, not Fluffy, Fuffy, no L. Yeah, follow us on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok.
Be one of millions.
See lots of ferrets being crazy because that's what ferrets do.
Yeah.
The segue Theo gave you, I immediately thought of Bob Barker and like, get your ferret spayed and neutered.
It is important.
No, they usually come that way in the U.S. So
This is how we end up with 5 cats. We have 5 cats now. How about your writings? What's new on Hitless Video? I saw you had a video posted a day or two ago.
I did one for just some fun the other day. I edited something together. I picked my top 5 practical movie monsters. I shot and edited something together and just put my 5. I was like, all right, I'm a big monster guy. I like monsters. I like horror movies. I do horror movies. And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna just write down the 5 that I'm like, I look at them and I go, oh, these are great. I do think some people would think my top 1 is maybe controversial, but let me know if you watch it and put in the comments and see.
Can you give us a spoiler and tell us what your number 6 would have been?
Actually, I could. I did put an honorable mention because I was like top 5. I'll put an honorable mention to get that 6. So I did the Werewolf from American Werewolf in London as my honorable mention because I think the transformation scene for that is particularly just jarring. If you've seen that film, it is bleak, but also has lots of moments of just sheer joy with those characters, and it's very much that particular scene where you see the transformation of the werewolf is, I think, very body horror inspired, but it's also just a sad tale of loss of agency with this character as well.
I'm thinking about the original Nosferatu.
I like that one. I mention it, but it was not in my original 5.
And then there's a very cool transition scene. I don't know what movie it was. You probably know that they always talk about the practical effects. It was like the 40s or 50s or 30s even. Where's that the woman turning into the hag? Do you know what I'm talking about? Have y'all seen this?
Not sure.
I'll have to find it and send it to you.
My brain went to the Lon Chaney Jr. Wolfman when you started to talk about that.
I'll find this and I'll send it to you.
A cultural appropriation scene where there is a woman who does some transformation.
Friday, you reminded me of a question that I was been wanting to do on Hard Claim at some point, but haven't had a chance to do it. But I want to know, name a townsfolk, outsider, Indian demon that describe you as a Clocktower player.
Wait, I couldn't quite hear you, Nina. What?
Describe you as a Clocktower player.
Describe
a townsfolk, outsider, a minion, and a demon. If there's one character that you think that describes your play style as a...
Ooh.
Or just as a person?
No, as a Clocktower player.
As a Clocktower player, okay.
Well, like damsel I do the opposite of what you would assume on a damsel would do. I'm very loud and screaming I'm the damsel, but I do that all the time when the damsel's on the script. So for me, that one is like my character.
I think the name that describes me the best probably as a Clocktower player is Village Idiot.
I don't know.
Ed would be the savant. Ed has to be a savant.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, are we picking 4 or just one role?
You just pick one for now.
We don't have a lot of time left.
Like, ouch. I don't.
Gosh, I don't know. I'd have to.
Yeah,
look at
that's. That's an interesting question.
Yeah. I think of weird
kinda
questions.
I mean, the introvert in me says recluse. To be fair,
You're not introverted. I can see Beardy being like a puzzle master.
Yeah, I could say something like that.
I feel like I'd probably be the librarian because I write down a lot of stuff, but then I forget where it is and what I wrote. So
I think Rowan would be a good empath. Rowan can really read people.
yeah.
yeah,
I feel like if there's any of these that screamed out to be movie related, then I'd be like, oh, that one. None of them really shoot movies.
Lycanthrope?
Psychopath?
Lycanthrope.
Yeah, sure. Like
Yeah.
a good psychopath. And Lycanthrope, yeah, okay, yeah, there's some movie monsters for me.
And then Malachi, obviously, psychopath. Yeah. No. All right. Thank you all for joining in today. We also have Bambi Blue Potato, who says Beardy is very fun to play with.
Thanks, Bambi.
And Odix Cervello says hello. So, hey, first chat, glad to see you. Yep, so thanks for watching today. We're going to have those links for everything down below. There's also places where you can go and vote on your favorite of these scripts as you watch them played, or hopefully get to play them yourself. So I'll go dig that up somewhere and post it down below, too, because I don't know where that site is, but I'm sure it's posted somewhere on these videos. And until we see you next week, I hope everybody has a great time. Happy St. Patrick's Day this week. Well, that's why I'm green, this terrible Aquaman shirt in green. But there you go.
Pink.
Perfect. Next
Pink and
week,
green.
Next week, we're hoping to play a game celebrating Eid. Usually for Eid, we enjoy playing... I like playing Leviathan games because I think Eid is all about community. And so kind of Leviathan really brings the whole community together. Everybody's solving this mystery together for the whole game. So we might do that. We might end up playing either writing script or Eric's script or doing this World Cup things. We'll do something fun next week to celebrate Eid. So until then, please stay safe, have fun, love each other, and we'll see you next week here at the Gauntlet Goblin. Night, everybody.
night.
Right.